This might be a long one. I want to talk about Daenerys Targaryen's relationship with her two Westerosi knights, Sir Jorah Mormont and Sir Barristan Selmy. Two people who wind up by her side for very different reasons with very different agendas. Sir Jorah Mormont wound up in Essos in the first place because he was running from the law. From Ned Stark specifically, Jorah had been involved in selling slaves, and this was a big no-no, and Ned Stark was coming to Bear Island to pass the sentence, which would have been death. Jorah flees to Essos and he takes with him his wife Lynesse Hightower, and she was the reason why he was selling slaves. He was in so much debt because he'd married this Hightower girl from Old Town, and when she came to live at Bear Island, it did not measure up to what Lynesse expected, and Jorah tried to provide her with everything. He got himself into a mountain of debt, sold slaves, got caught, had to go to Essos. Soon enough, the money that they did have runs out and Lynesse leaves him, and Jorah winds up being a sellsword. So he has a huge fall from grace. Over the years, Jorah had travelled throughout the free cities in Essos, and he winds up in Pentos, which is where we meet him in the story, when Daenerys is betrothed to Khal Drogo. Jorah was acting in service to House Targaryen at this point, but the truth of the matter is that behind the scenes, he is being paid by the crown. He is a spy. So initially, Jorah Mormont follows the Targaryens because he's being paid to do so. It's not out of loyalty or a belief in their cause. Jorah was down on his luck and this was an opportunity. I think Varys reached out to Jorah Mormont and said, here's an olive branch. All will be forgiven. Just do this one favour for us. Now, Viserys, that was just a job for Jorah. He had no loyalty to Viserys and he saw he was a fool. But Dany, she's different. Jorah tolerated Viserys, but he actually came to care for Dany. And this was the conflict in the mind of Sir Jorah Mormont. Now, in the books, his interest in Dany is a little too keen. There's quite an age gap between them. I'll leave it at that. But his loyalty to Daenerys begins to grow, and that is in conflict with him spying on her. Feathers begin to get ruffled with the arrival of Sir Barristan Selmy. He winds up in Essos because he is let go from the King's Guard. He's told, you're too old, we don't need you, go off and retire. And Sir Barristan was given a very generous retirement package, He would have been in a lovely house and he would have been taken care of, no worries in the world, a nice, quiet retirement. But that's not what he wants to do. Sir Barristan was up for one last adventure. He travels east to Daenerys Targaryen, and there is a big reason why he's doing it, and it's very different from Sir Jorah's. Sir Barristan goes to Daenerys because he's trying to make up for his mistakes with House Targaryen. The way he sees it, he messed up. He didn't protect Dany's father, the Mad King. He wants to alleviate this guilt that he's been carrying all these years. You could make the argument that there is a selfish reason for Sir Barristan going to Daenerys, but he does genuinely believe in her cause. He's trying to do the right thing. I think serving Robert Baratheon and then Joffrey, that left a bad taste in Sir Barristan's mouth. Aerys, the Mad King, he was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But Sir Barristan is very tied to the ideas of what it means to be a knight, to serve your king, what loyalty means. And Sir Barristan is loyal to Aerys Targaryen to a fault. Sir Barristan has this conflict of, what do? You're meant to be seen and not heard. It's not my place to intervene. But the king is doing awful things. It's not right. But Sir Barristan does not intervene, and that's a problem because it comes in conflict with your vows as a knight, to be honourable, to protect people, to do the right thing. How can you do that when you're turning a blind eye to what the king is doing because you've sworn 2 oaths? So the reason why Sir Barristan Selmy goes out of his way to be the most honourable knight he now can be, it's to make up for not having done enough back then. If he had intervened, maybe things would have been different. Maybe the Mad King could have been saved. Sir Barristan, he's trying. He knows he messed up. He's trying to do right now. And he and Sir Jorah Mormont, they kind of rub each other the wrong way. And it all comes down to their different reasons for being with Daenerys Targaryen, because it is Sir Barristan who reveals that Sir Jorah was spying on Dany for the crown, for Robert Baratheon. Jorah admits it. He's like, I did do that. Yeah, it's true. But then my feelings changed. He proclaims his love for Daenerys. But he has betrayed her, and she realises, I can't have you around. I can't trust you. She remembers being pregnant in the marketplace, the attack. She's like, that was because of you. You told them I was pregnant, and that's why they came for me. And that whole time, Dany's time with Drogo and being pregnant with Rhaego, that is very painful for her, even now. She was only a child when it was happening. It's a sore spot for Dany. Mirri Mazda told her, you will never bear a living child. So she's looking at Ser Jorah Mormont saying, you've done the biggest, baddest betrayal of me that you ever could. So she banishes Ser Jorah. She says, get out of my sight. If I ever see you again, it's over. Now, Ser Jorah Mormont could be one of the 3 betrayals that Daenerys Targaryen will know. The language in the prophecy is very interesting because when you say a betrayal you will know, does that mean you will be the one betraying someone, or will you be betrayed? It could go either way. So Jorah could be one of the betrayals Dany knows, but that still leaves 2 other betrayals. Alternatively, Ser Jorah might not be one of her betrayals because George R.R. Martin, he loves a redemption story, especially for a dishonoured knight. So Ser Jorah has a chance to redeem himself with Dany. It might not be the end of their relationship. Ser Jorah has come across Tyrion Lannister. He's taking him to Daenerys, offering him up, here you go, my queen, a gift. He's trying to get back in Dany's good books. Again, you could argue there is a selfish component to Ser Jorah wanting to get back in Dany's good graces because he's let her down so badly and he has to live with that guilt. But to his credit, he could have just fucked off. Like, he could have gone off and retired, but he didn't. And he puts himself in harm's way to try and take Tyrion to Dany. So now both Ser Barristan and Ser Jorah, they're kind of on the same path. They are both wanting to redeem themselves through Daenerys. They're both trying to do the right thing and they believe in her cause. They're not doing this for gold, for prosperity, for anything like that. When you look at where these 2 men came from and how they came to be with Daenerys and why they chose to stay with her, that is the kind of stuff I love because they're seeing Daenerys as a new type of ruler. Ser Barristan, Ser Jorah, they've been through a lot, they've seen a lot. They have hope in Dany and they are following her because it is their choice. Both of these men could have just gone off and retired and we'd never have heard from them ever again. But they don't. They don't give up and they don't give up on Dany because for their flaws, and they both have them, both of these men have a lot of wisdom that can help Daenerys, that can only aid in what she is doing. They want to help her so she doesn't repeat the mistakes of the past. And just to sum up this video, Daenerys, Ser Jorah, and Ser Barristan, and all the dragons, they're all still alive in the books. These relationships are still alive. Some of them are strained, but they are still there. They both came to Dany through different paths, very different reasons, but now they're on the same path. And I think it's a good thing.